strengthening an issue, correcting the development problems that evolved before now, and seeing how the country, Nigeria, will move to Eldorado. Some of the subject matters or issues we shall be discussing on the program Good Morning Nigeria and Good Morning Gombe. Electoral reform, what are the lacunas? Electoral Act, what are the clauses that need to be corrected so that we have leaders that will champion the cause of development and growth in the entire country? There are so many problems here and there, but we want to believe with the leadership on ground that are doing everything possible and within their reach. It shall be well with Nigeria. Good morning, you're on to GOMBE State Media Corporation GMC-TV. My name is Ibrahim Tal. We're very much located in the studio. Our satellite has catch we were able to meet one of the principal staff, Yuba Kota at the top. That is the INEC Residential Electoral Commission, REC, Gombe State, person of Alhaji Saad Umar Idris, PhD. He is the former DG, that is the General Electoral Institute INEC. He has in office as REC in June 2025 in Gombe State. Sir, you're welcome to this program.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good to meet you.
Mr. Ban, Daniel is our usual public analyst. He will be doing justice to some of the complaints coming in the way that has been sending through different medium to our station in respect to.
Good morning, Gombe. Thanks for having me.
Mr. Daniel, welcome. Sir, we will not talk on other issues because it's a tradition to discuss attendant matters that has to do with Gombe at the same time Nigeria. But we'll leave that because I know you are fully equipped, fully ready.
It's a long talk.
To tell us how far so far Nigeria has gone in terms of strategizing and strengthening the electoral aspect of this Nigeria. But before then, our viewers would like to know your biography, history, it is in a nutshell, you want to tell us.
Okay, thank you very much. First and foremost, I'm very glad and pleased to be in this program. My name is Dr. Saad Umar Idris, the Resident Electoral Commissioner on the stage. Before coming as the Resident Electoral Commissioner, I was the Director General of the Electoral Institute, which is the training and research arm of INEC. I was two-time Director General, finished my first term, and in my second term before I was appointed as REC. Even before that, I was actually Director of the Commission before I even became the DG. So I've been in INEC for quite some time. I was the Director of Training before I even became the DG of the Electoral Institute. So you can see that I've been in INEC for quite some time. So I'm not coming here as a novice. I'm somebody who came from INEC. I was appointed President Electoral Commissioner from INEC. So I am really a son of the soil in INEC.
That's beautiful. Now, sir, to set the ball rolling, at least we are now okay. We know how we can move with the program for telling us who you are, even becoming the REC Gombe State. Now, from the inception of INEC to date, as an arbiter of itself that decides to elect or to come out to say, okay, based on your work being studied by the commission, this is the person that win this election, this is the person that lost this election. Now, if that is the case, Nigeria up till date, Nigeria is questioning INEC. Now, let's enumerate or tell us the problems that you think are on ground that has been solved before, now that you think those problems need to be solved before the 2027 election.
Okay, first let me clear a wrong impression. INEC does not operate in a vacuum. There are laws and guidelines that governs what INEC does. There are laws also that clearly states what INEC is supposed to do. INEC is guided by a fulcrum around which its job actually revolves. One, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Electoral Act 2022, the guidelines and regulations which clearly state what we ought to do and how we ought to do them. We also have the manuals that actually, in clear terms, illustrate what electoral officials and electoral personnel needs to do, who is supposed to do what, and if there are issues, how do you tackle them. So really, INEC is an organization run by law, and we operate with laws. So it's not something we just, you wake up and you just do what you want to do. No, there are expectations. Your own functions is clearly encapsulated in these laws that are clearly stated. So let's understand that INEC is an organization that operates within the law. And there are provisions of the law, from the Constitution to the Electoral Act, to the regulations and guidelines, to the manuals that we produce, that clearly states what we ought to do. So anything that we do as electoral officials is supposed to be guided by those laws. I think that is something we need to clearly understand from the beginning. So having said all this, me and you knows that over time INEC has actually improved tremendously. We know how elections were conducted before in this country. We are all Nigerians, me and you, and we know how elections is actually conducted. I will use a very, very small illustration which I love to use. In 2023, despite the challenges and the complaints about the election, the then ruling party actually lost in Abuja. All Nigerians were there. If votes doesn't count, if INEC doesn't do its work, how can that happen? It has never happened, but it has happened. In Lagos, we know the ruling party lost in Lagos. Right or wrong?
That's right.
I will give you another example. In Kwara State, a young lady actually won a seat, an assembly seat, which was virtually impossible before. In Yobe, a young guy who doesn't have 10,000 in his own account really won elections against a sitting chair, not only a member, but the leader of the House of State House of Assembly in the state.
An Okada rider in Kaduna.
An Okada rider in Kaduna won election in 2023. In fact, the examples are endless. So for me, to say that votes don't count really is actually not correct. It's incorrect, and I don't think that statement is fair to the Commission. If you like the Commission, INEC is one of the most self-improved organizations in this country. We have come a long way. So elections actually have improved. The processes have improved. Okay? We have moved from manual ways of doing elections. We have done the card reader in 2015. Over time, we have actually developed to get to a state whereby we now use the bimodal voter accreditation system, the BVAS. And the BVAS is what we use now to authenticate you before you even vote. No authentication, no BVAS, no elections. But it has not been like that before. So why don't people really understand and appreciate the appreciable progress made so far? If there are challenges, INEC as an organization accepts feedback from the public after every election. We actually do stakeholders internally and externally. We meet with our staff, we meet with our electoral officers, we meet with our administrative secretaries, with the resident electoral commissioners. We do retreats to actually question ourselves. Where do we go wrong? How do we improve ourselves? Externally, we engage all the stakeholders, security agencies, political parties, CSOs, the media, religious leaders, everybody will bring people together to now say, look, tell us how we fare. We have done that 2015, we have done that in 2019, we have done that in 2023. I have been part of that process. I was a director in the commission before I became DG, and I was two-time DG, and I have been part of this process for all this time. And we sit down to do comprehensive review of elections and to see where we need to improve, including the just concluded 2023. We have prepared a report that came out on the election 2023 general election. There are 142 observations and recommendations that came out mainly from stakeholders on what we need to improve. Some of them are actually administrative, that have actually been implemented already in the commission. Some of them are in the process of being implemented. They are work in progress. Some of them are going to be implemented. Some of the recommendations that emanated from those reports are actually things that requires constitutional amendments. And that's where we come to the issue of reform that you are talking about. Some of them will require amendment of the Electoral Act 2022. And of course, you know, right now the National Assembly is actually discussing the issue of electoral reforms. This is actually something we are partnering with them. Of recent, we had a retreat in Lagos with the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters and House Committee on Electoral Matters as well, where these peculiar issues, critical issues of electoral reform were discussed. All these things have been marshaled together. They have been discussed at the National Assembly, and we are hoping that before 2027, some of them will actually come to fruition. Some of them will mature, some of them will be approved. Of course, you know, it's outside our purview to effect those constitutional or electoral act amendments. This is entirely the purview of the National Assembly. But of course, we have done our own. We have made proposals. We have presented to National Assembly. We have done retreat with them. And right now, even as early as yesterday or day before or last week, National Assembly has been talking about reforms that they are planning to do. So hopefully these things will come into fruition. Once the National Assembly makes the amendment to the relevant laws and the President accents to the laws, they become law and they are going to be implemented. So hopefully we may go into 2027 with some new laws that may actually improve the electoral process. And I think we will see a better election, God willing, in 2027.
My joy this morning is that we are having somebody, and I want to say Gombe is lucky to have a reg who are searching through the rack and file of INEC to get there. And my joy particularly with that we are having somebody who have been through the academic aspect of INEC. So I think that will put us in the better place to enjoy the part I'm going to come in through.
Thank you.
So a few days ago, about a week ago, Yaga Africa released a very interesting data.
Yes.
Very interesting. The report was called
Which I have.
the report was called Voters' Intention to Vote.
Absolutely.
In that report, Yaga said 77% of Nigerians are willing to vote. Out of that 77%, 42% have a little problem, which involves some problem of trust, which you just talked about earlier on, fear of violence, fear of insecurity, and all that. So in line with that report, how does INEC intend to fill in that gap, the observation, the lacunas Yaga Africa has observed?
Okay, first and foremost, the day the report was released, Samson Itodo has sent me a copy. This is the report, the entire report, and I have read it. So I want to tell you that I know the report you are talking about is here in my phone. I have read it, I have digested it, I have seen some of the observations. What pleases me really, to be honest with you, was the fact that the report was positive about people willing to vote.
Yes, that was
of course, people. That's a good aspect.
77%.
Exactly. I would have been.
It's a pass mark.
I would have been worried if the report says that people are completely not interested in voting. That would have been disastrous because we are looking at 2027 and hoping that people will actually vote, and we are hoping that their votes will count. So if people don't vote, you have problems. There are issues. So quite frankly, I have the report. The key findings are all here. 77%, like you said, is very. It's
here. A very good pass mark. Which is an academic assignment.
Of course, which is 77 is actually an A.
It's an A.
Yeah. So I think what we need to build as a commission is trust and confidence. I think most Nigerians don't have an issue with the progress we have made in terms of technology and the rest. Yes, we have improved appreciably. However, what I think we need to do is we need to get people to trust us more, to have confidence in us, to also give them the assurance that their votes will count. I think people need to understand that. People need to know that. It also will encourage them to come out and vote more. I think hopefully what we are going to do between now and 2027 in terms of voter mobilization and sensitization and publicity and engagements we are going to do with stakeholders, we are going to demonstrate to the public. We have been doing that and we will keep doing that. That look, without this vote, whatever issues and challenges you think you have cannot be resolved. You are part of the solution. Part of the solution is actually going out there to vote the people you want, the people you trust, the people you think can actually add value to the system. If you refuse to do that, then you are part of the problem, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
So, I think we will continue to demonstrate that the votes will count.
Yes.
And in 2027, I think it's an opportunity also to get people to trust us more. And I think internally the Commission have realized that. We have taken all the feedback from people, their concerns, their worries. Part of what we are going to do today, immediately after I leave here, is to go to the stakeholder. We are going to hold a stakeholder meeting with all the stakeholders, political parties, CSOs, the media, religious leaders, traditional rulers.
Yes. Your colleague in Ekiti today had a meeting with traditional leaders.
We are going to have this thing at 11 o'clock now. Although it's particularly on the issue of phase 2 of the continuous voter registration. Now, to tell you and to demonstrate to you that INEC is a listening organization, in phase 1 of the continuous voter registration, people complain that, look, it's a bit difficult for people to go to your state office and local government offices to register. You need to devolve this registration to the RA level, to the ward level, so that people, you can bring the registration closer to the people. Exactly what we are going to do. From Monday, 2nd February, we are going to move the registration actually to the ward level, to the RA level. We are going to do what we call rotation. Over the next 50 days from Monday, we are going to rotate and take the registration to the RA level, which is the ward level. Still at the local government offices and at the state offices, there will be a machine. They will continue to register people. However, there will be a machine that our staff will take and go to the RA centers. That is the crux of the matter we are going to discuss at this stakeholder. What I thought was we can't go into this very critical phase without having a stakeholder meeting. What I am going to do now as REC is to tell everybody, every stakeholder at 11 o'clock today that this is what we intend to do. These are the dates we are going to do the rotation at the RA level. This is the number of days we are going to take. This is the center. We are going to do it at the RA centers. We are taking it to the registration area centers. Everybody will know this. And yesterday I had a meeting with my electoral officers. Exactly the message I gave them. Everybody is going back to do a stakeholder at the local government level, my electoral officers, in all the 11 local governments in Gombe State. from tomorrow. Some of them will do it on Saturday to tell people that this is what we intend to do. How accountable can you be? Everything we do, I know my state, we do it transparently and openly. I'm going to share all this information and share them with you, with all the stakeholders. They know when we are going to do it, they know where we are going to do it, they know how we are going to do it. And we are going to provide this information openly. Everybody is there. So, my LGA electoral officers are going to call their stakeholders and tell them. So, there is nobody in Gombe State from Monday that will say he doesn't know that we are doing, except if you don't watch TV or radio or you don't listen. Even if you don't do that, we are going to the RA level, which is in Hausa called Gunduma. At the Gunduma level, that's where you find the masses, the normal ordinary people. So we are going to go there and register them. So we are bringing down this thing to the RA level, that is the registration area level, so that people can have the opportunity to register.
So the registration that you're talking about is going to be simultaneously, that is in the RA level, or it's going to be dates related to particular
you know because of the number of RAs you have in this country, what we intend to do is 50 days was approved for the rotation. So what we need to do is, we have most of the local government in the state have 10 RS. Some has 11. So we are going to, for each RA, we are going to allocate 5 days. And this is what we are going to announce at the stakeholder. Nobody is going to say he doesn't know. The local government you belong to, your electoral officer is going to go and do stakeholder and tell all the stakeholders. And they will give them all the dates. We are going to have 5 days per RA. We rotate, then from one RA we move to another RA.
Okay.
Where you have more than 10 RAs, we have provided an extra machine to take care of that. All this thing, I am going to this stakeholder with the head of my ICT, who is in charge of voter registration and ICT. He is going to give technical details about what we intend to do. Anything that we need to brief the people of Gombe, I'm going to be there. All my heads of departments are going to be there. And we are going to open this thing. There will be an open session where everybody in Gombe, a stakeholder in the electoral process, is free to ask me a question, to ask my head of department. I am going with all my heads of department. And my directive is every single issue raised by stakeholders, we must be able to address. This is accountability. This is transparency. We are doing things openly and transparently so that everybody knows what we are doing. So we want to carry everybody along so that we run together and we get to the destination together.
Yes. Right, this is a very good and germane effort that will evolve and bring everybody on board. And before we continue on this particular topic further, can we just trace back a little, where you made mention of so many observations were made? You said almost 100 and something recommendations
made out of the feedback we got.
And you say most of them that are germane are now under the National Assembly for amendment.
That requires constitutional and electoral amendment. Good. Now, the responsibility of the National Assembly to do that.
Now, as a rec that has went through the bureau of the commission, that is from the DG of some opposition offices from the DGs from before becoming the DG at the same time now. Like, what are those genuine clauses or sections that you need? The Nigeria dear needed due to paradigm shift, because as it evolved, problem that may be that was encountered in 2023 might be different from that. The problem may be counter in 2027.
Okay, what I will just highlight to you is some of the major things that the National Assembly is looking at. Of course, there are many, but some of them I will point out. For instance, the National Assembly, we are all aware, it's been all over the media. They are even looking at possibility of actually having elections.
Date the election.
You know that is in the front banner. So National Assembly is looking at that. The National Assembly is looking at actually doing a law that will make transmission of election results mandatory. It's part of is a very critical area that the National Assembly is looking at. Of course, you know, these are all proposals. They have not been.
I was going to come there too.
So, it's a proposal. If the National Assembly makes it a law, then it's going to become mandatory. As it is now, you know, the law has not mandated, has not made it compulsory for INEC to transmit results electronically. But if the National Assembly now propounds a law and actually made it mandatory, the commission will have no option but to transmit election results electronically. That is an area that is willing. In fact, even the appointment of the chairman of the commission, of commissioners of INEC, are all areas that proposals have been submitted by the commission itself to the National Assembly to look at the possibility of some amendments. Another area is, I will give you a very good and critical example. Right now, INEC has no power to conduct local government election except in the FCT by law. The Constitution only provides that we conduct FCT council elections, and you are all aware it's coming up 21st February. In fact, preparations have been ongoing, and we are almost there. February is just next week. By 21st, we will have the FCT council elections. So we are only constitutionally allowed to conduct FCT elections at the 6 councils, area councils. But all local government elections are domiciled in the State Electoral Independent Electoral Commission, SEACs. That's their responsibility. It's not our responsibility. In fact, there are proposals, in fact, from the public that INEC should be mandated to conduct local government elections. Right now, that is not the case. But if a law is propounded to say INEC should conduct local government elections, then once it becomes law, it becomes mandatory for you to do that. So I'm just bringing only the critical aspects, some of the critical aspects that the National Assembly is looking at. Of course, there are many, as the National Assembly works on them, they will do a lot of public hearings on these areas. There will be a lot of inputs from the public, and we'll get to know the ones that will scale through and that will be approved, and the ones that does not get approval. Once it becomes approved by the National Assembly, it becomes law. Once the President accents to it, and if the President accents and it becomes law, it becomes binding on whoever is responsible for you to implement that. But let me seize the opportunity before we finish to express a worry myself. At the first phase of the CVR in Gombe State, I did critical stakeholders meeting, and I expressed worry that even at phase 1, Gombe State actually was left behind. I'll give you small figures to illustrate. I will always like to demonstrate by facts, not only saying something, but I will quote figures so that you know how important these issues are. During
voters registration,
during the first phase of the exercise, I want to give you briefly the total number of registrants recorded by Gombe State. Total number 35,451 new registration, comprising 14,976, 42% male, and 20,475, 58% female. This demonstrates that women are actually in the front banner. They have overtaken men in terms of registration, and even at the national level, the same is the case. Women are actually leading in terms of registration. Now, there are 7,613 transfers in Gombe State, 9,031 incidents, 1,383 collected PVCs across LGS. Now, the worry is this. After all these months of registration, right now, as I'm talking to you, when you look at a small comparative analysis of phase 1 that ended in December, I will demonstrate this, my worry, by quoting some figures from other states to show you. Kano State, total registration after phase 1 was 1,796.3%. Sokoto has 162, 299, 5.83%. Zamfara 1,006, 906, 3.84%. Borno 126,864.56%. UB 55%, 55,070, 1.98. But that is not where the gist is. The gist is the figures for Gombe. Compare all these states with Gombe. Gombe has only 36,638, which is only 1.32% at the end of phase 1. So right now, as I'm talking to you, we are only in front of Adamawa and Taraba in terms of voter registration. So the numbers are very low, grossly very low. I'm going to express this worry at the stakeholders at 11. We need to do more. We have aggressively done a lot of voter education and publicity. We have done road shows in phase 1. I have done stakeholders. I have met with almost every stakeholder and expressed this worry. Now we are going to meet with stakeholders and tell them our preparations for phase 2 and rotation. Now I think the responsibility of the stakeholders is quite frankly to mobilize Gombe citizens to go out and vote, to go out and register. You can't vote if you don't register. So I think the responsibility lies with not only us in terms of doing voter education and publicity, but with you also, the media, with political parties, with CSOs, with religious leaders, with the everybody has a responsibility. We need to aggressively come out and mobilize people to go out and register. I think that's very, very critical. Now that we are even moving this registration to the RA level, to the ward level, which was what the stakeholders were complaining. Last phase 1, they complained. We now escalated these problems to the headquarters. Now, headquarters graciously approved in phase 2 the rotation starting from Monday. Now, from Monday, we have 50 days to rotate at the RA level in all the LGS. So now we are bringing this thing to your doorstep. And I want to see that at the end of that 50 days, which I think hopefully ends in April, I think we need to see the numbers in Gombe go up. We need to have the numbers improved tremendously. And it's the responsibility of not only us, but all of you. I'm happy my friend and colleague here is one of the people who actually speaks on current issues in Gombe State. And part of the responsibility is for people like you who have listenership, who are influencers, to really draw the attention of the public to go out and actually register. I will seize the opportunity to say that no need for double registration. If you register from 2011 to date, your card is still valid. You don't need to register again. If you register again, we are still not going to use the new registration. Our machine, our database is going to recognize the old registration. So we'll discuss this. We'll discuss this one. It's useless. You have wasted your time. You have wasted our time, and you have blocked the opportunity of somebody to come and register. So no double registration, for God's sake. Once you register from 2011, there's nothing like, people will say Sabun Tower. There's nothing like Sabun Tower. If you have your card from 2011, you are going to vote. There's no problem in 2027. You don't have to have a new card. So somebody will have his own card. Then he will go and say, another is Sabun Tower. I came to renew my registration. There's nothing like renewing. The only time you need to go to and do something is, if you are 18 now, you have never registered. That means you are coming as a fresh registrant. Now, if you have a name that is either misspelled or not correctly captured, you can correct all that. And if on that, you don't even need to come to INEC. You can do that online. If you want to transfer your registration from another state to Gombe, or in Gombe from one local government to another, or even within the local government, from one RA to another, from one PU to the other, you will have the opportunity to do that. And you can do that online. So now that we are going to the RA level, please, this is a good opportunity for people to come. If you lost your PVC, if it is burnt, it's burnt, you have the opportunity to engage our staff and correct all these things and get it sorted out. So let's use the opportunity of this window for the rotation to actually make sure that we have aggressively engage every voter to go and register, those who have not.
Honorable Commissioner, yes. Honestly, I'm baffled at these figures you just rolled out.
Yes.
Because from the Yaga report, I was thinking the voters parties thing was going to be very easy for Rex up north. Because based on the Yaga report, it said the intentions to vote was much higher in the north. So I thought the Northern Red Commissioners has less job. I want to believe one of...
certainly intention and reality are two different things.
That's true. That's true.
If I have intention to register and I did not register, then it's only at the level of intention.
That's true.
So let's make the intention a reality.
Yes. This is just a sort of suggestion and advice. One thing I observe is that during electioneering years, most times REC seems to pull out of the space and leave politicians, give them the field to do their campaigns alone. So I think from the blueprint you just read out, your plans, the area and everything, I know these problems have solved already. But one thing I expected REC to INEC to continuously do is, as the coalitions are campaigning, they should also be in that space to mobilizing also too. That should be sort of their own type of campaign, not campaigning for any politician. But politicians are campaigning, they should be in the field, working, mobilizing people also.
It will cause problem with other political parties. That is my own assumption.
Okay, but let me clearly...
Depending on...
The area I expect you to come in is going to be capital intensive.
Let me clarify. If you say campaign is entirely the responsibility of political party. INEC is not a political party. INEC is an election management body.
Okay, let me swap it with the word mobilization.
It's an umpire. When you talk about voter education and publicity, voter mobilization,
you are an authority.
This is our own area. It's our own area. But let me also tell you, voter education and publicity and mobilization is not only the responsibility of INEC. Constitutionally, and the laws also provide that even political parties, it's their responsibility to mobilize the voters, because they are actually mobilizing those that will vote for them. We will do our own part. Politicians will do their own part. CSOs, you have responsibility, and NGOs to mobilize. Media, you have a responsibility. Religious leaders, everybody has a responsibility to mobilize people. So, let me tell you, part of the government agencies responsible for voter and civic education is NOA, National Orientation Agency. It's an agency actually saddled with the responsibility of civic education and mobilization as well. When I came to Gombe, I visited all the heads of agencies, including NOA. I went on a courtesy call, met the director NOA and said, look, we're in this business together. We are not the only ones responsible for voter education, for voter mobilization, for civic education. You are in fact constitutionally empowered to mobilize people to exercise their civic responsibility, part of which is actually to register and vote. So, and the assurance I have from the director NOA then was they are going to partner with us. They have done tremendously well during the phase 1. We have partnered with them, we have worked in terms of mobilizing voters. Of course, we have a lot of work to do in phase 2. So really, let me tell you, voter mobilization, voter education and publicity is not only the responsibility of INEC, it's the responsibility of everybody, including the media, CSOs, NGOs, political parties, religious leaders. Everybody should do his own part. So by the time we all do this together, I think we are going to move forward. We are going to move forward. We will do our own part.
Yes. Viewers, that is the INEC Resident Electoral Commission, Red Gombe State. Alhaji Saad Umar Idris, PhD, former DG Electoral Institute, INEC. Been discussing issues that has to strengthen, like I said earlier, to fulcrum the commission at the same time, the apathy for we Nigerian voters to come out and vote and exercise our right towards voting our future leaders. We'll be back in just a minute to continue. Open our line if you have questions to ask or you want to be part of the program. You can either call, our lines will be placed for you on the screen at the same time. If you don't want to call, you can text. Now we'll read your text.
My name is Kaider citizen of Nigeria, daughter of Urkung and Tangale, indigen of Gombe State, Gombe dwell in the savannah. Decades later, from just a small state from a part of Bauchi to one of the fastest growing states in the northern part of Nigeria, which consists of 11 local government and over 20 languages, a state where agriculture is a norm, with a peaceful coexistence, beautiful topography, where you feel tremendous peace, fast-growing economy, best and friendliest city for its business due to its excellent modern infrastructure, endowed with over 13 different minerals harnessed for various uses such as Komani oil, coal, limestone, name it. Gombe, garin Buba Yaro, garin Abban gidan Buba Yaro, gari mai tarin albarka. Gombawa ɗiban fari ba a kwanda mu ba, an tashi da mu. Gombawa akwai mu da karɓan baki hannu bibbiyu. Gombe garin 'yan mata da samarai akwai mu da neman namu. Ga ado da kwalisa, Gombe birnin ƙarshe, Gombe ba mu da kushe, Gombe ba mu da ƙyashe, ga asali ga tushe. Proud of Gombe, Gombe of go-getters, like His Excellency Muhammad Inwa Yahaya, Amina Muhammad of United Nations, Usman Farouk of the First Military Governor defunct, Abubakar Habu Hashidu, Senator Muhammad Danjum Magoji, Isa Ali Pantami of Brains, Senator Ibrahim Hassan Donkombo, Joshua M. Lidani, Ali Isa JC of Reps, Tuni Yaro of Senate, Zainab Adam Bulkachua of Juris, Aisha Tu Jibirin Duku, Honorable Ali Moduku, Honorable Binta Bello, Bala Tinka of Tinka Point, Honorable Usman Bello Kumo, players like Samkon Gado, Haruna Garba, proud of Gombe immensity, from Jaruma to Helen Habina, Anas Adamu Muhammad to Usman Umar Zambo, Ali Nuhu to Yakubu Muhammad, Isa Gombe to Umar Gombe, Dan Musa to A-Class, Esmiga to Black D, Awal Pires to Sa Olaf, Gombe Dupes to Jewel Magazine, Gombawa of What Snake Like Me, Usaina MD. God, we are doing so well. I am...
Welcome back to the program. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Gombe. Resident Electoral Commissioner, you talked about your staffs are going to the field for 5 days per RA to conduct and sensitize the general public on the apathy for the continuous voters registration. And you talk about some of the lacunas you envisage, especially in Gombe, and the effort the commission is making. Now, do you have professional staffs that will do this to the best of their ability? Because even at the TIST, we are told that you are about employing or bringing on board ad hoc staffs. Now, those ad hoc staffs you're talking about, are they part of those personnel that to conduct these activities, or you already have those staffs on ground?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me be very clear from the beginning. We have professional roles, registration area officers, who are really recruited mainly for the purpose of registration. These people are actually our staff and trained for this purpose. If you remember, before we commenced phase 1 of the program of our registration, we actually held a training for them. The training is meant to actually give them a refresher, for them to, of course, they have been doing this. Most of them have actually done 2021, 2022 registration, and even well before. But before we go into any registration, we also train them again. So all these people we are going to deploy now are actually trained staff of the commission. Now, let me tell you, in all the 114 registration areas, we are going to deploy two personnel with an IVET. They are, for now, they are actually our staff, INEC staff. But where we are going to have an activity that requires large number of personnel, and we don't have enough personnel, what we do is to recruit actually ad hoc staff, mainly NYSC. But that actually happens mostly in elections. Sometimes it also happens in registration, but when the registration is so big and insurmountable, and the number of staff we have are not enough to go around. But for now, since it is rotation, for all the 114 RAs that we have, which is the registration area, which is the ward level registration. We are deploying 2 personnel, and they are entirely INEC staff. They are our what we call registration officers. So they are going to go for 5 days and rotate from one RA to the other. So we have 114 RAs in Gombe. We are going to go around 5 days per RA. For those RAs, for those registration areas that are more than 10 in each of the local government, we have provided staff to take care of that. So there is no worry. Part of all this we are going to explain to the stakeholders at our meeting at 11 o'clock. And I have the head of ICT who is going to even give them technical details. Whatever question any stakeholder has, we will address it at the stakeholder meeting. And let me repeat, that my electoral officers, we had a meeting yesterday and I directed them to go to their local government and do stakeholder. Don't say we did it at the state level. No. At the state level, the stakeholder will also pass the information down to their LGS. But for me, it's not enough. I say go back as the electoral officer to your local government and call all the stakeholders there and tell them exactly what we are telling the stakeholders at the state level. So if you look at what we do in INEC Gombe, we cascade whatever we do. What we do at the state level, I ask my electoral officers to do it at the local government level. So that at the end of the day, we are carrying everybody. So by the time we start on Monday, both at the LGA level and at the state level, everybody is aware of what we are doing. Now, that is not enough. I am here on this floor explaining. I'm going to be on radio, I'm going to be on other television stations. We are going to do more road shows. We are going to do a lot of other voter sensitization activities. I'm very happy that I am here with my head of voter education and publicity, who herself is actually a veteran. She is a veteran. She has been head of voter education and publicity in different states in the federation. She was head of voter education in Adamawa. She was deployed to Gombe from Yobe. So I'm very happy that I have a veteran who heads the water education and publicity. I'm with her in the studio, and you can see she's tireless. She has been running up and down.
Very well.
Yeah, we are going to keep doing that. I told her that anywhere I need to be, at whatever time, drag me. We are supposed to start this. We are supposed to be here at 8:30. By 8:15, I was outside already.
If
you want me to be here 6,
you came before me.
I came before you people. If you want me to be here 6 a.m., I will be here 5:15, 5:30, 5:45.
Don't get this in the
You know, this job does not require you sit down in the office. When I came newly as reg, I went around the 11 local governments. Every single local government in Gombe, I went physically to go and inspect our facilities, to go and actually personally monitor the voter continuous voter registration exercise going on. So I'm not I'm not an armchair rec that sits down in the office and just collect report and read. I go around, and let me finally say that this rotation that is going to start on Monday, I'm going to go around some selected local government to see how the rotation is going. I don't sit down and wait for reports from anybody. I go to the field to see what's happening myself.
Red, the issue of, sorry Dan, you asked the last question. The issue of network and topography of some areas in the local government, I hope we won't militate against some of these activities.
I think the only blind spot, I will call it, usually in INEC we call it blind spot, where there is no good network. The only blind spot we identified during this rotation is actually in Kaltungo. And what we did to solve that problem is the law allows us to discuss with the stakeholders once it's acceptable to them. If the RA where we are going to do the rotation has no good network or has no network at all, we are allowed to go to the next RA within the local government. You can't go outside that local government. And even then, for accountability and transparency, you must discuss. I told my EOs, discuss with the stakeholders at the local government level. Let them know that because you don't have network in this particular RA, you are moving to the next RA, so that everybody that is supposed to be here will be told to go to the next RA closest to that RA and register there. it must be with the agreement of the stakeholders. I think that is transparency and accountability. You can't do that without people knowing. If you don't do that, they go to the RA where there is no network and you don't see anybody, and they say, oh, where are the INEC officials? So I've told my staff that only in Kaltungu that we have one blind spot, and we have told what the electoral officer needs to do. So we are not going to have anybody not registered in because there is no network. We will go to the next RA, but within the same local government. What we will not allow, you can't go outside. And even then, you have to have a stakeholder discussion at the local government level for the stakeholders to accept, so that those people that belongs to that RA will know that there is no network and they are going to the next closest place to register. Otherwise, I don't think in the 11 local government we have any places. Only one RA that I think we have that issue of network. Otherwise, we are good in all the other 11 local governments.
Honorable sir, you know these days with the social media era, people have to be very, very careful how you manage information.
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was this news on social media that INEC has released timetable. Is that real? That is one. And then secondly, in the headlines of one of the dailies this morning, with hope rising for transmission of results. Why is that? What did that hope?
Well, let me also tell you, to be very clear, INEC has a very, very robust communication, voter and education department. We have an entire chairman of the INEC Voter Education and Publicity Committee. And the committee is chaired by a professional, Mala Mohammed Haruna, who actually was an MD of New Nigerian Newspapers and actually MD of Citizen Magazine. A professional who heads the INEC Voter Education and Publicity Committee. Immediately that news came out about the timetable, the commission came out with a press release and said it's fake. So I don't need to say anything. The commission has done what it needs to do. So honestly, we have what I advise people. INEC has its own approved platforms. We have a Twitter handle. We have our own Facebook account. We have all the platforms, online platforms that you can think of. We have them, and they are operational, and they when people need to know. So I think my advice is people should always try to get information from INEC recognized and approved social media handles. Instead of just, if you want to see and believe anything in the social media, honestly, if you want to believe anything said in the social media, you're just going
to waste your time. The headline in one of the dailies this morning that says hope rising for transmission.
I don't know about that. I have not seen it. So I'm not right about that. Yes.
Resident Commissioner, sir, we are glad for your time, opportunity, and knowledge at the same time, information being shared to our general public through this medium. I believe subsequently we invite you for use of this nature program of this caliber. You are obliged to assist us to educate and inform the general public on the issues that has directly linked with the commission. Mr. Dan?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
INEC Resident Electoral Commission, Red Gombe State, Alhaji Saad Umar Idris, PhD. We are glad and we seek forward to wait and see some of the stuff that you will send to our respective wards for the continued voters.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. It always will be my pleasure to be here.
My name is Ibrahim Tal. Continue to enjoy the remaining part of our program on GOMBE Media Corporation, GMC and TV.